All right, welcome back to the Dirt Beers Podcast, episode 16, sponsored by, again, Dig Race Products.
Yeah, beef. Since 2016, Dig Race Products has had a sole focused on Northeast dirt modified shocks and suspension tuning located centrally in New York. Dig is the industry leader in at the track shock and setup support. This hands-on at the track approach is what leads to the design and development in delivering the highest quality shock absorbers to the dirt oval track market. Take your program to the next level and feel the difference on Dig. Visit digraceproducts.com for more information. Beef, I'm a little under the weather, but I think that was a fairly clean ad read.
That was very good, Jonathan. Thanks to Brandon and everybody at Dig, as always, for supporting the show, and we love their support. But, Jonathan, we just had some play the music. Breaking news.
I don't have that soundboard going yet,
so
but one day.
So we were just getting prepped here, and breaking news breaks across our Facebook. I was just scrolling as we were getting ready. Jacob Allen stepping away from driving for Shark Racing. He's getting out from behind the wheel, wants to focus on his family. He's got a young daughter, just wants to focus on being more at home with his wife and his kid. But still going to be involved at Shark Racing with the 1A team. Whoever's going to be behind the wheel, that hasn't been determined yet. But yeah, crazy news, Jonathan.
Yeah, really unexpected, and you got to wonder about it. I mean, like, I can definitely understand why you would want to step away if you've got a young family. Like, we just saw, Aaron Reitzel go through a pretty scary scene, but he also saw him come back to be a winner in High Limit, right? We'll touch on that in a second. So the dangers of stock car racing, of dirt racing, they don't go away. They always are prevalent. They're always there. There's always a reminder in one way or another. So it kind of makes sense that if you've got those family priorities, step away. And especially in his situation where he's so involved with Shark that he can still remain there and scratch that racing bug by not necessarily being behind the wheel of a race car.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's still, like he said in his post, going to be involved, going to be doing some kind of position with Shark Racing. Probably, I would say, not out on the road, obviously, full time, but they did say in the post they're going to still race their remaining schedule as if Jacob was behind the wheel. So, interested to see who fills that seat. I'm not really sure who it's going to be. There's not a ton of guys out there just looking for rides right now, but definitely interested to see who gets behind the wheel of the 1A.
Yeah, right. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out, and how does it affect Logan, right? You never know how that's going to work, right? And Logan's going to have obviously a new teammate that he's going to have to get used to working with, or sharing information with, or however that situation is going to work out. So, a bit of a shocker. I'm looking over his stats already this year. He's run 5 events for the World of Outlaws sprint cars, and he's got 2 top 10s in those 5 starts. So it's not like he was like way off the pace or anything like that. But just definitely hey, if your heart's not in it, you're better off walking away when you know, right?
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of somebody you just brought up, Aaron Reitzel, as we talked about on the last episode, took a rock through the visor at Las Vegas dirt track, broken nose, stitches. Fast forward 1 week in victory lane with High Limit.
Yeah. Unbelievable, right?
Just crazy.
And it gets the win in Paris. He was on track to win more than a few, I think, in a row there. If my memory serves, of how his performance was on some of those nights. But I mean, he's having a great rebound, back up to 3rd in points in the high limits, right behind Sweet and Courtney, who are leading the way right now. Obviously, Brad Sweet's kind of, I don't want to say he's checking out on the field, but he's up 77 points already on Reitzel, and he's up, quick math says 47 on Tyler Courtney. So Brad's starting to get away and stretch his legs out a little bit, but I think for Aaron to have that come back and kind of see the stitches to riches is one of the headlines I read. I liked that one. Whoever wrote that was some great journalism, great writing there. But High Limit obviously has kind of been, I don't want to say the focus, but they've put on put on some good content as of late.
Mm-hmm.
Reitzel gets back-to-back wins. He also picked up the win the first night at Central Arizona Raceway. But we talk about the major guys. We probably should talk about a former guest on the show. Caleb Montgomery had himself a great little West Coast swing chasing the high limit.
Yeah, Caleb on this high limit West Coast swing has just been awesome. Uh, rattled up a couple top tens, or one top 10. Sorry, finished fifth
Top
in the
five at
one
Paris.
top five at Paris. Finished 11th twice. Just was going into Arizona, I think sixth in points.
Mm-hmm.
And he was originally not going to be going to Arizona, but got a couple people to sponsor him, put their name on the car, give him a little cash, and the three team headed out there. Unfortunately, they only get the one night in, but still cool to see him out there and competing with these guys and being able to run up front.
Yeah. Ended up with two top 20s, 14th, and it looks like on the second night in Central Arizona, looks like he was, where did I see him? 19th there. So, but still a gain of 3. So he picked up
Yeah.
positions in those races as he went through. So, it's great to see. And I think the big thing that I feel when I watch a guy like Caleb is, and you follow the story of Allen stepping away, is, I feel like if you're Shark, you're probably watching a guy like Caleb, or you're watching some of these other guys that are
Yeah.
scraping by, getting top 10s, top 5s, turning, good runs out of, mediocre equipment, or maybe taking a 98% car and getting a 105% finish out of it, or whatever, however you want to quantify it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Shark Racing, a guy like Caleb, or a guy just like anybody who's not quite had that opportunity at the full-time level, maybe it's time to take a flyer on him, especially mid-season.
I mean, I think so. I think Caleb's definitely a good candidate for a team like Shark Racing to take a look at. Um, he's consistently fast, and I mean, not terrible equipment. He has decent stuff, but if he could get to a top level team like Shark Racing, and I'd love to see what he could do with that kind of equipment.
Yeah, and there's guys like that all over the place on the East Coast, West Coast, in the South and the North, right? And that's, I think, what I would want to see from Shark, and what they would choose to do with this maneuver is, it's probably pretty easy. There's probably somebody that is right under our nose that's an obvious pick to go in that race car that we haven't even thought about yet. But maybe, just maybe, there's a guy or two on different tours, on maybe, you might catch them on flow here and there, but you're not going to follow their whole season.
Mm-hmm.
Take a flyer on them. See what happens. Let's get some new faces, some new talent in there. That's just what I would like to see out of it. But either way, shout out to a former guest. Shout out to, speaking of favorites, he was never like my favorite driver, but he did drive for my favorite team. I wanted to give some love to old boy Casey Kane, he's had some pretty solid runs on the high limit tour to start the year.
100% finished on the podium twice now. And of course it's his own car that's beating him, but
yeah,
that's another thing. But anyways, yeah, awesome to see Casey Kane up there running and fighting for wins, and showing that he does belong out there. Like, it's not, he just doesn't have the money to go out there and putt around or whatever. He's out there and he is competitive.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to look at a guy like Casey, or anybody who's had a trip to a higher level of stock car racing, or of dirt racing, whatever, and look at their career kind of on the backside, so to speak. No offense to Casey, but that's definitely where it is right now. Like, he's just had so many years under his belt.
Yeah.
He's not a young gun trying to go and chase a title, but maybe he's an old guy going to chase a title, or at least try to keep lockstep with the car he owns in Brad Sweet, right? So either way, though, I think it's great for the sport. I think it's great for Casey. I think it's great for the KKR brand. He's sitting 8th in points right now, just ahead of Caleb, actually, as of right now in the high limit series point standings. So I'm here for it. I'm a big believer. I'm a big celebrator of Casey Kane Fridays for anybody who's seen that meme go around on there. So I would like to see some more sprint car stuff cut into that Casey Kane Friday meme. But hey, you know what? It's super cool to see. I think when you look at the top 5 on this most recent high limit feature, right? Besides Casey, Casey might be there throughout the year, but Brad Sweet, Tyler Courtney, Aaron Reitzel, Rico Abreu, even if you want to extend it back to Justin Peck, that's probably the guys we're going to be talking about the most, I think, for the rest of the high limit series.
I
At
think
least
so.
that's my early feelings on it. I don't know if you agree with that, Beef.
I would agree with that. I think that's going to be the top 5 names you're seeing the most out of this high limit season. And speaking of that guy you just mentioned last year, Justin Peck, there's a little bit of news coming out. Not so much with Peck yet, but he's running the same type of motor. But TSR and Donnie Schatz decided to do away with the Ford 410 sprint car engine program for now. So all World of Outlaw points paying events, they are going back to a Chevy based 410 motor.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, do we see the other Ford teams follow suit, as in Radine Racing and Justin Peck? Um, it's yet to be seen. Donnie, I think he's only got one race in so far with the Chevy motor. I'm not even sure where he finished, to be honest. But um, can this reignite Donnie and get him back up there fighting for championships?
It kind of seems like, based on the feeling that I've seen online about this maneuver, is that it's a necessary maneuver to make Donnie competitive. If he's
Mm-hmm.
gonna have a shot to go and win, he had to get away from the Ford program. It seems like, a lot of people have said, like, I think when the initial news came out with Tony's alliance with, I believe, Mopar products
Mm-hmm.
over on the drag side, I think a lot of people were like, oh, is there going to be some kind of Mopar program for the
Motor,
sprint
yeah.
cars that's going to go into that? But obviously, we see him go back to the Chevy style motor. I don't know how I feel about this, because at this point, it kind of feel like they're throwing the kitchen sink at Donnie and this team. Like, they're changing crew guys, they're changing crew chiefs, they're changing out, now motor change. Like, does it kind of almost feel like they're just scrambling to do whatever they can to keep Donnie competitive?
Could be. I mean, but you can't. Sometimes you just can't keep beating the same wall, or beating the same horse. Something's got to change. Whether you
Mm-hmm.
make one change or you make a couple changes or wholesale changes, I think really they got nothing to lose at this point. It's try it out and see what happens. And if they're fast, they're fast. If not, back to the drawing board. See what happens.
Yeah, I mean, he's already 212 points back of Gravel for the title. He's sixth in the standings, right? So he's got, I don't want to say a mountain to climb, but he's got a bit of work to do if he's going to get up there, and he's got to start getting wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's got 8 top 10s and 13 starts. That's not bad,
Yeah.
but you need those top 5s and you need those wins, especially when Gravel's already racked up 5 on the
Yeah.
tour.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that guy just does not miss. He's got
No.
13 top 5s and 13 starts, right? Like, the guy has not finished worse than 4th or 5th, I think,
Yeah.
all year. So if you're TSR in your shots, you gotta do something before
Mm-hmm.
you fall too far back, because it's not going to take a lot to fall back into the clutches of Gio Selzy right now. He's only
Mm-hmm.
4 points back. Bill Baylog's not right there as well, and Chris Wyndham. These guys are not slouches. We've had,
No.
Emerson Axum sitting 12th in points right now,
Yeah.
and he's only run 11 features. He's right there, a guy that could, jump up there and steal some spots,
Yeah.
steal some points off you, right? So it reeks of desperation, but at the same time, you're probably right, where now might be the time to be desperate, where you're not going to wait till July to make this move.
Yeah, I think it's good timing, and I mean I'm interested to see if the Radine Racing Group follows suit and shelves the Ford based motor for now, goes back to something else. Maybe they switch entirely. Maybe another team opens up and gets a Toyota motor. It's all going to depend, and we'll just see how it goes, I guess. But
So my question to you then, too, be from like the standpoint of Ford,
mm-hmm.
like, if these teams are all going to migrate away from Ford engines on the top level, like, what happens to that program in total? Is it going to be maybe cheaper because there'll be less demand for somebody else to maybe go and pick up jump on the Ford program? Like, what
See,
do we see Ford disappear altogether from sprint car racing again?
I'm not sure. There's only a select few that have Ford motors. I know that the TSR motors are different from everybody else's motors. Um, they also are just coming out with the basic crate 410 Ford motor that the average Joe on the street can buy.
Mm-hmm.
With Donnie and TSR doing this, I think that absolutely shoves that back 5 steps, because if the top team that was doing the research and running this motor for you is like, yeah, we're gonna put it away for now, what does that do? Like, what does that say? Um, who knows? I don't know if they're just gonna disappear or not, but I mean, I think there'll always be the one or two guys that want to run them because they're
Mm.
Ford guys.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a thing, right? Some guys are Chevy guys, some guys are Ford guys. So it all depend, but definitely not a good look for the Ford sprint car motor.
No, and when you look at the international like program that Ford's kind of been going, it feels like they're kind of going away from a local racing standpoint thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, like they're talking about going back to Le Mans and
Yeah.
being an international force again. Obviously, they've joined forces with Red Bull, and they're going to supply engines to Formula One cars coming up
Yeah.
down the line, right? Like it doesn't feel like Ford really cares about the American market in the same way it used to, where a sprint car program and having a competitive sprint car engine would be as impactful or
Yeah.
as much of a priority for them.
Yeah. Um, Also, we'll talk about we had the first SDS race, Super Dirt Car
Mm-hmm.
Series, at Bridgeport. Yeah, no,
No, New Egypt.
New
Yeah,
Egypt Speedway. Um, Top three were Stu Friesen, Alex Jankowski, and
Logan Watt.
Logan Watt. Very impressive from Logan Watt. Not gonna lie, not a name I thought I'd see in the top three Super Dirt Car Series race. I mean, anytime soon. I'm not sure how old he is, but he's definitely a younger guy. But cool to see Alex up there. Like we were saying when we talked to him, I think it's going to be a good year for Alex. I think he's going to be running strong. Stu, obviously, I mean, gets behind the wheel of a modified, he's always a threat to win. So, but
Mm-hmm.
obviously not following the entire Super Dirt Car Series tour as he has NASCAR truck commitments. But yeah, what did you think, Jonathan, of first Super Dirt Car Series race?
So for me, right off the hop, I think it was less so about the winners and who was up front as maybe a name we haven't spoken about yet in Matt Shepard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not a great night. I mean, a rally for sure. Made the feature by going through the last chance showdown.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% sure. I didn't see what put him back there. If it was
I'm not
just
sure.
if he had a mechanical problem under qualifying or in his heat or what happened to put Matt Shepard back there. It looks like he was in heat 2 and lost 3 spots, started 4th, finished 7th. So it doesn't look, it's not showing me that he was a lap down or anything. So I'm not sure what happened to Matt. I must have missed that earlier in the night to put him kind of on the back foot to start the night. But uh, if you're Alex Jankowski, especially, I think you have to be feeling really good. We had the kid on the podcast. He's got a ton of confidence, got a ton of skill coming off the big gator down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
He might be that wild card that really mixes it up. I mean, started eighth too. It's not like he had great track position and stayed up there. He
Yeah.
drove his way towards the front, whereas last year's champion Matt Williamson started on the pole and fell down a little bit and
Yep.
ended up 4th, right, just falling off the podium. And he still led 23 laps, but he obviously ended up being no match for Stu once Stu got to him and was able to make that pass. And then Alex gets by, Logan gets by, and if you're Matt, you're probably kicking yourself because you know that how many opportunities are you going to get where you can, um, you know, have a night where you finish 13, 12, 11, 10 spots ahead
Yeah.
of Matt Shepard, who is most likely going to be your main competitor in this
Yeah.
title fight. Although really it does seem like we're shaping up for maybe a three car battle with Alex.
I think Alex is going to be the one to break up the Matt and Matt show, which is going to be awesome to watch all season, and hopefully it comes down to maybe a little tight battle between the three of them in Charlotte at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to give a shout out to Anthony Perego, was 10th to 6th. He's another one who could be in that battle. How about Eric Rudolph as well? Started 13th, up 6 to finish 7th. Solid top 10 for Rudy.
Mm-hmm.
And Felix Wong, Canadian. Shout out with a top 10.
Nice.
So
I
that's
think
the
that
story from the Super Dirt Car Series, and that's
yeah,
probably everything we need to cover, right,
I
Alan?
think
Did we
so.
miss
Yeah,
anything?
I think that's everything we wanted to cover. On this episode, we got our interview segment up next with Jared Buckallew of Ascent Media, and getting to talk with Jared about all things dirt racing photography. Welcome back to the Dirt Beers podcast. This is episode 16, and this is our guest segment this week with Jared Buckallew, also known as Ascent Media on Instagram. Jared, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we've had one photographer on before. You're a second photographer to come on. Basically, we like to get the show going by learning a little bit about you. So where are you from, Jared, and how old are you?
28, I think. Yeah, 28. I'm from I forget, honestly. It's not important to me. I'm from Oskaloosa, Iowa, so I'm about 30 minutes from Knoxville Raceway. So
Nice.
not a lot around here. It's just pretty
No.
quiet, laid back around here.
Yeah, fair enough.
Have you lived in your hometown your whole life?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
I'm actually at my parents' house right now, and it's walking distance to the hospital where I was born. So I've been here my whole life.
That's awesome. So obviously, kind of growing up in the shadow of Knoxville, was getting into racing media, in particular shooting media, photography, videography. Was that just a natural fit that you were drawn to?
I don't know. So when I was younger, we used to go to the races quite a bit. I mean, there's not a lot going around here during the summer, so it was just kind of a natural thing. My dad liked it, and they always went to the nationals and everything. So went there quite a bit as a kid. And then I'd say there's probably 10 years, we really didn't go a whole lot. We'd go out to here to Southern Iowa Speedway and watch hobby stocks and stock cars, that kind of stuff. And I wasn't even really that into the multimedia world, photography stuff. And I kind of got back in, I started doing some of the photo stuff, and then ended up going to college for it. Still didn't ever go to a racetrack at that point. And then I started, one of my buddies drives Gravedigger, the monster trucks, Tyler Menenga. And so he got me on with Feld, and I started becoming a tour videographer and traveling a whole lot. And then 2020 came around, and the COVID shut all of that down. And, the only thing that was going on was racing at the time. So it's just at that point I was like, well, I have the skill set, might as well just go try to apply it to something different. And then so I started going out to Oski and shooting stuff out there. And one of my buddies is like, dude, you got to come back over to Knoxville. You got to give a crack at it. So bought a pit pass and brought my high vis and started, and thankfully caught the attention of Kendra Jacobs and Eric Arnold over there, and started really working with them. And did their stuff for a little while, and that was great. But yeah, so there was kind of a hiatus there of not going over to Knoxville, but now it's I'd be there every Saturday. So
yeah, nice. You did, one of our questions was if you went to school, but you just answered that. Obviously, where did you go to school for photography?
I don't know. First of all, school is such a freaking waste of time. It wasn't even funny as far as college goes, but. I went to Indian Hills for a year, and then I went to Grandview up in Des Moines for a year, and then I came back to William Penn here in Oski and finished up. So it's digital media, so video, photo. We did a lot of live production stuff, newscasts, that kind of stuff. But honestly, I've learned more from YouTube and just being out in the real world than any type of schooling for it. If I could go back, I'd probably go to a 2-year and just move on and start actually making some real money.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. It is one of those things where media, you can almost kind of learn a lot by doing more so than anything. You can learn a lot by accident and just hanging around the right people. Speaking of hanging around, how often are you getting to the track these days? Is it a weekly thing for you to be there shooting, or do you have you pick your moments kind of thing based on the races that are in town?
Yeah. I have a set schedule. So I work with NOS Energy Drink and Lauren Albano, and So they have a set schedule for me. And so right now, they're all in Texas and now coming up to Oklahoma and California for high limit. And so I went down to Volusia and then Talladega and Magnolia. But I've had a couple weeks off here, just kind of getting going, and then have this next weekend off. And then I go over to Atomic for late models. So once the season gets going, I'll be at a racetrack every single week, and sometimes multiple times with midweek stuff. But yeah, it gets pretty crazy. But the off season, you kind of, I'm ready to get going again. I love it. So.
Yeah,
I think everybody is. So when did you make your Ascent Media account on Instagram? What was the birthday of Ascent Media?
I think that's got to be 2020. It's just because I needed somewhere to post my stuff. I wanted people to see it, and so I think like one of the first videos actually on there that I put was up over in Winterset, Iowa. There was I think it was a Loretta Lynn qualifier for like dirt bike racing. So we went over there and always really big into Supercross and that kind of stuff. So we were like, oh, let's just go check it out, and I'll bring my camera with. And I think that was the first post, and then just a lot of. I'd probably say like I started really gravitating only to like sprint car stuff more like 2021, but there for a while I was posting whatever I could to try to get someone to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you set out to like make that page, obviously a part of it was just to show off your stuff, but did you have any kind of expectations? Did you have goals in terms of like the actual growth of it? Was there a certain follower count you wanted to reach? Or were the social media metrics less so important and it was more so just about having a place to have a portfolio?
I feel like at the time it was more like you said, portfolio, to show off. There was a couple of clients I wanted to work for at the time too. So I thought that was a good, instead of like creating like a highlight reel and all this kind of stuff. Here's my Instagram page. Like go check out what I do. Now more than not, I'm starting to try to like grow it. So, I've been actually talking with Daryl Turford quite a bit with the Drivers Project, and he's been actually teaching me quite a bit of stuff, helping me with like Facebook and different places that I really felt like I wasn't doing well at with the social stuff. And I'm seeing some growth with that. But it's such a niche sport that it can be kind of hard to get a big following quickly. So just staying consistent with it, and just really focusing on the growth of it right now.
Yeah. Speaking of, you started out basically shooting anything that you could get shots of to put on your Instagram. What now? Do you think you're more of a sprint car fan, more of a late model fan? What's your favorite kind of dirt car to shoot nowadays?
It's just winged 410 sprint cars. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I'll go and shoot the late model stuff. I'll shoot 360s. I'll shoot non-wing midgets, whatever. But yeah, what I really get excited about is the wing 410 sprint cars.
So I wanted to ask about the typical race week for the photographer, for the videographer, for somebody who's doing that sort of stuff behind the scenes in terms of producing a product for actual clients. In a lot of cases, I'm sure for yourself and for some other media types out there. What does a race week look like to you?
First and foremost, I very thankful I get to be at home quite a bit. So first part of the week is always just babysitting the kiddo. So, it's great. I could, I start my week off like that, but, there's obviously travel plans, all that kind of stuff in effect. I fly quite a bit. Probably I'd say like most of the days, like most weeks, Wednesday, I get my gear out, get it cleaned up, I'm awful about when I get home from a track. I don't clean my gear. I always wait until I go back out. So Wednesday, Thursday, I get it back out, get it cleaned up, get it charged, just make sure everything's good to go. And then realistically, like here lately, especially like if I have a race on Friday, I'm like waking up at like 2 a.m. to get to the airport because I have an hour drive just to get up to Des Moines and then to fly out. I'm not, got a family at home, so I try not to leave in here earlier than I have to. So flying out Friday mornings most of the time, seems like I'm getting to where I'm going around 2 or 3 every time, and then just get right into it. There's a little bit of like, I mean, I know all the drivers pretty much now.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, I mean, I'm not super talkative at the track. They have a job to do. I have a job to do. So, most of the time I, check in with them, make sure I can put a GoPro on their car, whatever it may be. And then, yeah, I mean, just shoot and then get back to the hotel and get everything edited up. I try to always get photos edited each night, and then Saturday or what would be the following morning, get like for NOS, for instance, I always do like photos in a reel wherever I go, and so get that sent over, edited and sent over the next morning, and do it again Saturday going into Sunday, and then fly home Sunday and be with the kiddo again. So. There's really not much like on weekends like that. There's really not much like take home work really. I mean, getting all the work done at the track, and then when I get home, it's I'm just kind of gonna be at home.
Yeah. So speaking of your gear, what's your gear bag look like? How many cameras you got with you? How many GoPros you got with you? All different accessories. Give us a little insight on that.
I mean, right now, like photo wise, I had 2 cameras. One died at Volusia. The next one is it's on its verge of dying. So I gotta pull the trigger and get a new photo camera. That camera is a Sony A7 III though. I've had that one since I started, and like I think I bought that right when I started college at William Penn, so 2019. So it's due. It's old. So. Video wise though, I use a Sony FX3, have it all rigged out. That's the new camera. I love it. It's kind of my go-to for everything. I do have a DJI Mavic 2 Pro drone that I fly quite a bit too.
Okay.
A lot of places don't love you flying drones, so you just kind of hide and then still get the drone shots and do whatever. And then I always throw a couple GoPros on too whenever I can. There's a couple drivers that don't like it, but you just work with them and it's not too bad. But I mean, that's kind of like the gist of everything. I got a couple extra lenses and stuff and spare this and spare that I bring, but try to keep it as minimal as possible, especially whenever I'm flying. It's a pain in the butt to have a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So what about in terms of, you mentioned editing photos first, video. How long of a process how long do you take for your process when it comes to editing video? Because I've done like small social media videos for radio stations and stuff like that, and I feel like I'm pouring over every frame, and I'm like, why am I doing this? This is like a small little thing, but I feel like for sprint car guys and racing and probably for NOS Energy, they have a certain expectation level of what your stuff's supposed to look like. How much of an effort do you have to put into that editing side in terms of time? And how convenient is it for you guys to, I guess, develop like a workflow and be able to just quickly have presets almost that will work, or at least to give you a starting point?
Yeah, I mean, I probably like realistically, I structure most of their videos kind of the same. You always do, quick shot, grab the attention, and then establishing shot, then show the driver, and then kind of just work through the night. Hopefully they end up in victory lane, So, and a lot of the times I feel like I've gotten to a point now where I'm shooting intentionally for the reel. So like they want quick cuts like throughout the whole video, and I know that. So if I can get like a quick whatever or quick this, like I know where that is, and well, I should say it's a quick shot. I know where that is in like my the memory card basically. So I know where to go back, pull from that. So like in Premiere, what I use, you can in out, and like the preview, you can clip it all together. And realistically, I've gotten it now to the point where I can turn like a video from start to finish in under an hour for them, which is pretty nice. Sometimes it takes longer that's the thing with like photography, videography, there's like sometimes I show up to the track and I'm like, God, I'm just awful tonight. Like, it's kind of like a driver, you have your good nights and you have your bad nights. And so, but the problem is clients want you to have good nights every night. So you kind of, no matter what, you always got to figure out something that's good. And, you always just try your best with it. But, so yeah, I mean, I've workflow pretty good now as far as the video side goes. Photo side, honestly, it's still slow. I like to take my time with that, do different masks, do different this and that, and gradients, and no matter what, I don't think I'll be a fast photo editor at all.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So we always ask the drivers and the crew guys on here, and I don't know if we asked Lucas this or not, but as a photographer, do you have any race day superstitions? Something you got to do on race day to make sure that you're gonna have a good night?
I don't think so. I mean, if I'm going to Knoxville, I'm always stopping at Casey's and getting a slice of Casey's pizza. I mean, that's just like
Okay.
that's a must. I don't know if that's like a superstition, but that's just like a tradition of like if I'm going to Knoxville, I'm stopping and I'm getting some grub before I go to the track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Well, I mean, you're working with NOS a lot. You've talked about that already on the show. Are there specific NOS drivers that you're focused on this year? How does do they give you like a list each night of like, all right, here's who I want you to grab some content from, this guy, this guy, this guy, and anything else that happens to be cool that is NOS branded or related that you think cuts in, that's great as well.
Yeah, so most of the time, like when I go to these races, they're sanctioned events, like all of them are.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to a World of Outlaw race, my primary focus for that night is going to be Sheldon Haudenschild, Chris Windom. If Tyler Courtney is there running too, grab some shots of him, great, and throw it in, like sprinkle it in. But the focus is always on whether it's a World of Outlaw driver at the World of Outlaw races, or if it's a high limit driver at the high limit races, or late models, whatever it may be. That's kind of like how we always have done it. And that seems to, I mean, you're there. I mean, you go to a World of Outlaw race. I mean, you hope Tyler Courtney's there just because, it's going to be better competition. But Sheldon Haudenschild and Chris Windom are going to be there. So I think that's why we always lean in on that. That's their guys for the Outlaws.
Yeah. I think, Jonathan, we need to get into our favorite segment of the show here.
I think it's time. All right.
I don't know if you've watched an episode or not, Jared, but we have this segment called Ripping the Top. So basically, I'm going to ask you 4 rapid fire questions, and you're going to answer. And as soon as you give an answer, I'm going to move to the next one. And it's a timed deal. So you're trying to set the quick time. You're trying to set the quick time out of all of our guests.
Okay.
So our quick time still stands with Ava Payton at an 18-second flat for the 4 questions.
All
so
right.
that is the time you were trying to beat. So let me get my timer set up here.
Make sure it actually works this time.
Yeah.
I never forgot a couple weeks ago. You forgot.
I know. I forgot to hit the button. Never gonna live it down.
Nope.
Nope.
Go for a qualifying lap. Go for a flyer, and it doesn't even count. Come on.
Okay, are you ready, Jared?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna do 3, 2, 1, and then we start. Okay. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Favorite beer or drink?
I don't drink.
Favorite truck stop, snack, and drink combo?
Casey's breakfast pizza.
Top 3 pizza toppings?
Pepperoni, bacon, black olives.
Favorite wing flavor?
Just honey barbecue.
Oh, it was quick, but it wasn't
pretty
good.
good.
It wasn't a quick time.
No.
Sorry to break your heart.
I was like this time I was actually like dialed in watching the clock on my end, and I'm like trying to do the mental math. I'm like, well, it feels pretty fast. I think we're close.
It wasn't bad. 22 seconds flat.
Oh, okay. That's not bad.
Not too bad.
I miscounted. I thought it was a 20, but that's fine. I like that. Now I'm gonna have to start doing it on my side. Just like watch the competition level. Speaking of quick times, which is the best portion of the night for you to grab actual race cars on the track? Is it when they're out doing a hot lap session or a qualifying time session where there's less cars on the racetrack? Or do you prefer to have a whole pack of cars and then being able to pick out, the guy you're shooting there, the guys that you're shooting that night?
It kind of depends. Like lighting always, like throughout the summer months, is just best during qualifying. Like hot laps is a little bit too harsh, I'd say. They're clumped up together. All the cars are dirty. But I feel like once you get to like qualifying, it's typically like if your client wants like a nice clean shot of the car, that's going to be the time to do it. As far as like video though, I love whenever they're like grouped up like especially like heat races, if you can get them like coming at you into the corner, like for a heat race, I always think that looks cooler. Especially if if your guys up front and they're leading a pack of cars, I think that's a little bit more impactful. I mean, especially like I actually just reposted it on Facebook, but a couple years ago I was underneath the flag stand at Huset's for the start of the feature, and like if your guy's on front of that and it's a full field of cars coming at you like whatever 100 miles an hour, whatever it is, like I think that's like for video especially, like to show like those kind of moments is more impactful to me. But photography wise, I mean, I love qualifying is just the best for photography.
Yeah. So speaking of time, where is your favorite any racetrack, your favorite like spot to shoot? Is it a certain turn? Is it infield, outside the racetrack?
I definitely say like I probably like 75% of the tracks I go to, I always just try to live on the outside of the track. Obviously it's a little bit sketchier, just the nature of what we're doing, but it just gives it like a different look. I mean, I feel like you see, especially with like the older guys, you're going to see, 15 guys grouped up into turn 3 with a giant Norman flash, and they're going to get the same photo. And that's just not what I'm about. I don't want that. I don't like the look of that. So I always try, if I think this could be a cool shot and there's no one standing there, I'm going to try to go there regardless of where it is. But yeah, I definitely say I kind of live on the outside of the track until feature time, really.
So when it comes to your shooting, how often are you getting down into maybe somewhere where you're looking around and being like, I can't believe I'm in the middle of this? And what I mean by that is like, I feel like we see a lot of media shots of guys like either right in the middle of like a heated discussion, maybe it's not going super well, and maybe things are about to boil over and you might have to find a quick escape out of it. Have you found yourself in either one of those brawl situations? Or maybe, I guess even we could look at it on the more positive side of things. Like, have you been in the middle of like a big mosh pit of crew guys celebrating something epic in terms of a race win or something like that?
I think like I've had a couple people like yell at me like, get this camera out of here and all that kind of crap. And that's whatever. Like, if you don't want it in there, perfect. I want it in there. Like, it's just, they're doing man shit. I want to show that they're doing man shit, like that's just what it is. If they're thrashing on a race car, I want to have my camera in there showing them thrashing on a race car.
Yeah.
I got the Brad Sweet TK altercation a couple years ago at Huset's of them screaming at each other. And I wish they would have got out of the cars. Like I knew they weren't going to, I wish they would have, but, and that video did like really good numbers wise for me just because it's, it was crazy. You don't get to see that kind of stuff that often. And I've talked to people and that kind of stuff happens more than I think people realize. It's just, they do it in private so often. It's like, it's a golden gem whenever you can actually get it recorded on a camera. But I'd say like on the positive side of that, coolest thing I've like people celebrating everything. I was shooting for Logan Schuchart when he won the million at Eldora. And that was probably like, cause I've been helping their team for quite a while now. And so that was kind of like, I felt like I was kind of part of the team for that. And that was cool. I had my wife there and she was helping me shoot too. And so we kind of all just got to celebrate in that moment with them too. So that was probably the coolest thing, is just getting to be there for that for them.
That's cool. What's your 2025 goals? We always ask the drivers what their goals are. They always want to say, oh, I want to win races. I want to do this. I want to win championships. What's a goal for you as a photographer this season?
I don't know. That's kind of difficult. Like, I guess I don't really, it's probably bad. I don't really set that many goals for myself. I just want to make cool stuff. I think that's the most of it. I want to work with more people too, as far as like other creatives within the sport. I think a lot of the times, like, I have Ascent Media, and so I'm going to do Ascent Media. And like you had Lucas on, and he has Lucas, and he's doing rowdy stuff, but he's going to do him. I think it'd be really cool, like just to get to work with more people, like work with Lucas, and there's a lot of other guys that do really cool stuff, like on this side of sprint car racing, and we just. I mean, I think a lot of the times, like, it's so hard sometimes to get clients and get clients that pay really well too. So whenever you get it, you're not sharing it. Like
No, yeah.
you're doing everything you can to keep that yourself. But in reality, like, man, it would be nice to have a couple extra hands sometimes and get a different angle here, or start the GoPro there, or fly the drone, whatever it may be. Like,
Yeah.
I worked with a kid. He actually went out to William Penn here in Oski. He helped me last year with nationals, and we did stuff for KKR, and we did KKR. We had Parker Price Miller. We had Nos. I just took on way too much, so I was like, all right, I got to find someone. And he hit it out of the ballpark as far as like he was on it every single night, and like he had never shot racing prior to that either. So like seeing that, like, man, it was fun. Like, it was really fun getting to work with someone like that, and that was that detail oriented with stuff. And yeah, so I guess that just keep working with people and creating cool stuff, really.
I've got a bit of an internet friend up here who also is into videography and motorsports shooting, who does a lot of WEC and endurance stuff and sports car stuff, but he didn't always start that way. I've seen him do NASCAR. I've seen him at Oshweekend shooting dirt as well up here, and now he's almost exclusively in that zone. It seems like you've kind of almost always had the opportunity to exclusively work in sprint cars. So I was wondering if you have any desires to go shoot any other forms of racing that aren't dirt. Like, do you want to go shoot a Cup Series event? Do you want to go shoot some road course racing somewhere?
Yeah, I've shot one NASCAR race. It was last year at Newton when Stenhouse was running the NASCAR. Same weekend when the Outlaws were at Knoxville. I got to shoot that race, and it's just weird. Like, I shot the dirt races for the truck stuff at Knoxville, and like, it's such like a, I don't know, like, I don't know how to describe it, if it's like a dry feeling or what it is. Like, I just know the dirt community, and so I know the people around it. So I walked in, and everyone's a stranger there. Like,
Yeah.
so, I have, I get to work with people at NOS that I know at all these different races and everything, and they're great. It's just a different feeling. I do know a lot of the photographers now within NASCAR, and so whenever they come to a dirt race, I always see them and stuff. And so I don't think it'd be as bad now to go over to a NASCAR race. And honestly, I kind of want to, just to keep trying to do different things, because obviously NASCAR it's going to be like one of the biggest markets for people to see your work. But along with that, there's some really incredible photographers and videographers within NASCAR too. So it kind of, I think for me, it would kind of help push me to, continue to improve, to get to go do some of that kind of stuff. But it's not really, I want to try it again, but it's not something I want to do full time for sure. And same with like IndyCar or anything like that. Like, I would love to go try it, go shoot it, see, if there's anything potential there. But I think at the end of the day, like, no matter what, I'm always just going to be a sprint car fan. Like, we've done other things like outside of racing. Like, we've done wedding stuff, and we've done commercials for, a feed company, and like real estate, and, insurance and all this kind of stuff. And I just have no desire. Like, I love being a videographer. I love being a photographer. But when it comes to that kind of stuff, it just doesn't excite me the same way that, racing just in general does.
Yeah. Obviously you said you're very close to Knoxville Raceway, but is there a race every year that you look forward to? Is it the Nationals? Is it a different race? Or is there a race maybe you haven't been to that you're going to this year that you're excited for?
That's really difficult. Obviously the Knoxville Nationals is, if you haven't ever been, you got to go. It's just, it is what it is. But and then within that week, the Front Row Challenge here in Oski, like, having all these teams come into my hometown, and I go to the store, and there's a hauler here, hauler there. I'm like, it's so cool to see that. So it's like, I always say that's one of my favorite races. But man, I went to Gold Cup last year, and that might take it, honestly, as one of my favorite races. And I get to go back again this year with Naso, so super excited about that. But it's just like, it's just a different feeling. Like, it's just so much more laid back. And, and the one thing too, like, what I really liked about being out there, like, the other people that do the photography, do the videography, they're so freaking nice out there. Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone that I ran into, like they would just chat me up and just talk to me the whole time, and super super friendly, super helpful. Like if I had any questions, they're right there. Like I don't feel like I get that kind of same like being around here. Like
Mm-hmm.
so I think that kind of kills it sometimes for me. Like the photographers out there just being so friendly, the event being so good. Kyle and Brad and Colby do a great job out there too. So I mean, the facility's top notch. It's just the events like throughout the week. It's just I don't know. I just love it. Like
Yeah.
that is probably now one of my favorite races to go to.
I love hearing that. I love that you've been able to go and experience other things. I feel like there's a lot of photographers and videographers who are hustling hard at their home tracks and never quite have that experience. But I think you're, the perfect example of when you build a good portfolio, you can find your way to follow a tour or go to these major events. One thing I want to know in terms of travel, are you've done it enough, I'm sure, that you feel pretty confident when you show up to an airport. You don't necessarily, I'm sure, especially when it's your own local airport, you know where to go, you know how to get around the place, you know how to find your gates. But are you still like one of those people who has to show up like 2-3 hours ahead of time just in case? Or are you cutting it close now on the airport travel? Are you like a 30 minutes? If I get there 30 minutes before flight, I know I can get on. I'll be all right.
Man, I've yes and no to being like last minute. I know that I'm not paying for these flights, so I'm not trying to f over who paid for them.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
main thing. So I'm getting there just enough, so I know I'm not going to screw myself, and then I'm going to be good to go. But I missed some flights before from just straight up being too late, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And that was prior to me being at NOS, and since being at NOS, I haven't missed any, and been right on time for now on. But no, my wife is probably a little bit more like let's get there extra early, let's make sure we're good, and she's like a type A personality, I'm a type B. Like I'm
Yeah.
rolling in with just enough time where I know I'm not going to screw myself, but I'm going to make the flight, but I'm still going to sleep in as much as I can.
Yeah. I'm definitely the get there 3 hours beforehand guy, and my girlfriend hates it. But anyways, um, I want to ask what a non-racing question, but what's maybe a food or certain thing that you like that people wouldn't expect?
Ooh, I don't know, dude. Like I feel like a very predictable person. Like
Yeah.
my wife gets so irritated at me. Like because I could literally probably like eat pizza like for every single meal of the day and be completely fine and just move on and like
Yeah.
not have any like. But she is like, I don't know. I'm kind of a boring person. Like I would just keep it pretty even kill. Like I mean, I think, being in the racing industry, I guess if anything, like I don't drink like at all.
No. Yeah.
No desire, nothing, like just never really wanted to. So if anything, like I guess being in the racing industry and not drinking, I don't feel like there's too many people that do that.
Yeah.
But I guess, makes it so I don't feel like death climbing onto a plane on a Sunday morning too. So
That's true.
That is pretty true. That's pretty key. I mean, I thought it was kind of surprising. You threw black olives on there as one of your favorites toppings for pizza. That's not been super common. I think we had green olives from one
Yeah, I
guest
think
maybe
one time,
already,
yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
black olives, like I know my best friend back home here, he has black olives on pizza if he gets the opportunity to. Beyond that, I don't think I've ever heard of anybody really having black olives on pizza. I know it's a thing, but
yeah, I love it. I don't know. Maybe it's just like a weird like Midwest thing or something, but like my whole family, like that's like our go-to, like pepperoni black
Really?
olive, like that's the goods.
you mentioned being from the Midwest, and we're in Southern Ontario in Canada. There's different parts of Canada you go to, and it's definitely a culture shock. Even though it's one country, there's still parts of it. What's one thing that when you leave the Midwest is a bit of a culture shock for you when either you go to the East Coast or even the West Coast? I guess.
I don't know. Like I think like logistically, like the gas stations, like especially like California and like different places, they're kind of just freaking gross. Like I don't know. I'm like used to like I love, and again, I love Casey's. Like
Yeah.
it is my favorite. So when I go somewhere and there's no Casey's and it's just like a hole in the wall like nasty gas station, like I hate that. That is like one of my biggest pet peeves about traveling.
Oh, that's yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess up here it's not really. It's not like it is in New York. Up here, like
No.
we just have like corner stores or like gas stations like that. I guess that you're just like there's no real name brand stuff. There's like 7-Eleven and a couple
Yeah.
of
Circle
little
K.
ones.
There's more and
Or
more Circle K's
yeah, we're
popping
getting
up
more
now.
Circle K's now, but yeah, there's nothing like that. I mean, I've never been to the West Coast. Have you had In-N-Out before?
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
big fan. Big fan.
yeah. What's okay? What's your rating on In-N-Out out of 10?
I don't. It's difficult because I don't eat like a lot of like burger places, but like that's always one I do go to. I'd
Yeah.
give like I would say like if 10 out of 10 is like my all-time favorite restaurant, I'd probably give it like a 7 or an 8. Like it's
not
it's
bad.
up
Pretty
there
good.
for me.
That's
Like
pretty
I put
good.
like McDonald's as like 1.5. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I'm with you.
so.
Yeah.
I mean it's good.
Yeah, the Mickey D's has its time, but it's not.
Oh, yeah.
not an all the time thing.
I think at this point I'm going to McDonald's more for breakfast than I am for actual
Oh, yeah.
burgers at this point.
That's
Yeah.
the only thing edible really. Is their
Yeah,
breakfast.
exactly, right? Still kind of a fresh cracked egg, it seems
Yeah.
like, so I can deal with that. I want to know in terms of racetracks you haven't got to yet. Have you started to build yourself a bit of a bucket list of places to go and shoot, or has the job taken you pretty much everywhere you'd ever want to go?
Yeah, there's only like a couple where I'm like, I mean, obviously there's more and more that like, oh, I want to go there. Or like when I see like a highlight or something, I'm like,
Yeah,
there's still a lot of tracks I haven't been to. I mean, but that's like what it has been cool, like with Nos and then working with Schuhart. And then I've worked for a lot of different people that have just kind of, hey, can you come to this racetrack? Sure. Like, let's do it. Like, so I think I'm up to like 57 dirt tracks that I've been to now. So my goal is to get to 100, halfway there.
Yeah.
But like I'm really excited. I'm doing the Outlaw Swing up in Canada this year. So those are going to be all new tracks. So I'm really excited about that.
We're gonna get to meet you then.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And then I get to go out to Skagit this year for it's not when that high limit comes through. It's like the 360 show out there. And that's been like, I'd say Skagit has been probably like my bucket list track for a long time. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tracks in Ohio, Indiana I've never got to go to yet. And so I'm super excited to start kind of, especially with some of the USAC stuff, I'm going to some of those this year. And so
Nice.
just keep taking them off. But yeah, the goal is 100. I'm going to be pretty pumped when I get to there.
Nice. Well, that was gonna be my question after you said that. I'm like, I wonder if he's gonna come to Oswego because we're only an hour from there. My team races there every Friday.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll get to meet you and I guess show you around maybe a little bit at the Big O. Definitely. I mean, it's the premier facility here in Ontario. There's no other place like it. So I'm interested to see what you think of it.
I think I'm staying there because there's like the 2 shows there, and then there's like one other show.
Cornwall, I think,
or
right?
something like that.
Yeah, Cornwall. Yeah, Cornwall's cool too.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll need to figure out what to do when I'm up there because I won't have anything to do. So
yeah, I mean, fuck. It's too bad that I'm flying out. I leave for my trip for Florida on the Saturday after the Outlaws are there. But I mean, maybe Friday night we'll get you down to Niagara Falls. Me and Jonathan can take you to the casino. Maybe we'll get some dinner or something. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah, but we'll give you a little tour of the falls.
I think at this point we're gonna have to like organize a party bus. I think
I know. There's so many people. We're like, oh no, yeah, Clinton's coming. Everybody's coming now. We're like,
sick.
Fuck. Yeah, but no, that would be cool to meet you in person, and maybe
absolutely.
we can get together for sure. I think we'll get into the next segment in the show here, and we'll get to the follower questions. So we posted on the story earlier asking for people to send in some questions, and let me tell you, we got a good amount of questions for you here. A lot of them, most of them, I believe, are from other photographers. So there's a couple little joke ones in here, I think. But Like maybe this first one. Brendan Bayum photos.
Bauman,
No,
Brandon Bauman.
Brendan
Yep.
Bauman photos says, "Real simple. Ask Jared, how does it feel to be the old McDonald favorite goat?"
Good lordy, he, he is like he pumps me up more than anyone else. I feel like, but he is like the nicest guy. Like, and he's such a good photographer too. But yeah, he always like comments on all my stuff and just like goat or like all that kind of stuff. He's hilarious.
That's funny. Next one's from BK Photos 113. If you had to shoot one track for the rest of your life, what is it?
That's difficult. I would say Knoxville, but like I've really been liking like the bull ring tight stuff, like or tight racing. It's I don't know. Like if Huset's didn't take rubber, I would say Huset's every time.
Yeah.
The racing isn't always like the best there, so that's like it's hard to say. But I don't know. Tulare was really good too. I mean, that's really tough.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Tulare. That's the one.
Tulare? Okay.
Yeah, I loved it.
Next one's from Phenom Motorsports. Says, favorite GoPro angle inside the cockpit of a sprint car.
I really like the overhead. Like, so if you're like looking at the cockpit, it's like up on the top right over the driver, like kind of like over top of him. So then you can see them move the wheel and everything. And and then sometimes too, if they're racing close with someone, you can see them get like right up next to them, and it's a pretty cool angle. It's where I've been. I do a lot of stuff with like Shoehart over top there, and what I get every time, I'm always like really happy with.
Nice. Next one's from Daniel Donnelly. It says, not a question. He's the best in the damn game from his second favorite monster truck driver.
Yeah, we were on the Monster Jam tour together. He was crewing for Blue Thunder at the time, so he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Before we get to the next one, Beef, I want to jump in. I want a little more backstory on the Feld days a little bit. What was that aspect of like that? I feel like that's really joining the traveling circus, so to speak, right?
I mean, yeah, it basically was. Yeah, I think I was leaving Thursdays. And I was on an arena tour, so the stadium tour would have been so much cooler to be on. But I was on the arena tour, so we'd leave Thursdays. We'd have shows typically Friday, Saturday, and then sometimes Sundays, and then fly home Monday, and then you'd have Tuesday, Wednesday. You have to flip edits, and then you'd get back on a plane Thursday, and it was just every week of that going to somewhere. And I was on what was like they had like East Coast, like Midwest, West Coast tours, whatever. And I was on their Midwest tour, but we were in like New York City and like all over the East Coast more than what we were in like the Midwest. So it made no sense at all. But yeah, no, I mean, it was really, yeah, like you said, just a freaking traveling circus at that. Like, it was a good time. Met a lot of cool people. Had a lot of fun. But that's not for me anymore.
Oh yeah. The next one's from Brandon Goodman Photos. Said also not a question, but Jared is a great friend and learned a lot from him at the Chili Bowl. He says.
Yeah, I think that was the first time we met was at the Chili Bowl this last year. But he's a good dude, a really good photographer, good to hang out with.
Yeah. I think I remember him putting a photo of you guys all like sitting in a circle on the infield or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had like I forgot who was all over there, but we had like a crew over there, and we just like all the like it's Chili Bowl. It can be pretty long, so it was fun to have like some dudes just to hang out and like shoot the crap with over there.
Okay, next one's also not a question, but it's from 42 Photographer. Says, does he need someone to carry his camera bag at the track? He knows who's asking.
Yeah, I get that all the time from him. He's a good buddy of mine too. Shoots at Knoxville a lot, and just really, really good dude, really good shooter. But he always gives me crap too. I'm surprised he didn't say, like, he always says that I love fender cars. Like, I'm all about fender cars. So I'm like, every time I'm ever at a late model race, he like really does it up for me. But I'm surprised he didn't say something about that.
That's funny. Last one from Jaden Hbk says, "What does it take to get to your level in photography? And are you coming to PA for the Wicket Memorial?"
I think the only time I'm coming to PA this year is for National Open this year, which, I mean, no, I take that back. I'm going to come also to, I think, Eastern Storm at Port Royal, I think, too. So not that, but I'll be
Okay.
around. I don't know. Like, I've kind of, like, to be completely honest, like, I've been blessed beyond measure with meeting the right people at the right times and people sticking their neck out for me when they really didn't need to. And, there's been, I'd say, 5 or 6 different people that have just kind of just helped me along the way more than, what they really should have. But I mean, also at the same time, like, I've spent time, like, I've really tried to learn the craft of what I'm doing. And, it's not just pressing a button. There's a lot of things. Like one of my buddies, Garrett Williamson, that drives sprint car. I was kind of talking to him recently, and he might have actually been at World Finals, and we we're kind of talking. I was like, yeah, cameras are kind of like setups for like race cars. We kind of have that for like photos. Like if I'm going to a red dirt track, I'm not going to edit things and shoot things the same as what I will at a black dirt track. Like there's just different things I'm going to do differently. And it kind of blew his mind because he's like, I literally thought you were just pressing a button. And I'm like, I mean, yes, but no. Like there's a lot of things to it. Especially like if you want things to look a certain way, I feel like, especially on the photo side, you just got to prep for it. You got to figure out what works. You got to, the first time I shot red dirt was at the Bristol dirt race. And those photos are god awful. Like those are I feel like those are some of my worst photos I've ever shot in my life. But, and I still don't really like shooting on red dirt, but I don't know. Every track's different too. Like every lighting situation is going to be different. How close you can be to the track is going to be different. There's so many variables into it. So I guess after a while too, you start to learn. And so when you show up to these tracks, you're like, all right, I can do this, this, and this. So realistically, like to answer that question, it's just put in the time. Try to teach yourself, watch YouTube. There's a million people that are going to be, great at what they do on social media. So learn off of them and then just spend the time and, hone the craft basically.
Wanting to jump off that for a second, there's something you said there about, what makes a good photo. Obviously you have an idea of photos you've taken that have been bad. For myself, anytime I'm listening to like music, I'm a musician, I have that training, I know what I'm listening for and like what makes a good song versus a bad song. Is there something you can kind of explain in layman's terms that maybe we wouldn't see with our untrained eye, that to use like, okay, this guy knows what they're doing, or this girl knows how to shoot this? Is there subtle things that you see that define what is or what isn't a good photo or a good video?
I think for like the photo side, I really rely on like rule of thirds with my photos. And I think you can kind of see that some within, like my photos of where I position a person or a car or that kind of stuff. So I guess for myself, that's what I kind of look for. Also just like sometimes some of the sharpness. I've seen a lot of people post photos where literally everything is out of focus. And I'm like, well, I get it. Like it's artistic. It's just not for me, So, there's things that I would say I look for specifically with my taste, but I mean, that's what's kind of fun about it. It's like, it's all subjective. Like I could think something was garbage and the next person would be like, oh my God, that's amazing. So, it's hard to say.
That's okay. We'll get him back in here.
There's things that I look for, I guess.
I was starting to lag a little bit there at the end.
Yeah, I know.
It's getting a little tight.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get rejoined.
Oh, there he is.
There we go. We got
There
it
we
back.
go.
Can we hear
What
it?
did you
Can
guys hear
talk?
and didn't hear there?
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. You're back.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you. I think I think that pretty much wrapped up. I think we got the end of your question there. I think right at the end. So
Okay, awesome.
Perfect. Oh, okay. I was like, oh, like again, but okay.
You're good.
Anyways, we'll get you out on the last question that I always like to end off on. What's your interest outside of racing and photography? Are you a golf guy? Do you like sports?
I don't really know. Like, I don't know. Like, we bought a house. We're modeling the house, just doing that kind of stuff. like I feel like racing, photography, that kind of stuff. That's all I really do. So I don't really have like a lot outside of that.
Yeah.
I love spending time. We got 3 dogs, and yeah, I got 3 dogs, and then my wife, and then we have a kiddo, and we just living life, having fun.
Nice.
Yeah, that'll keep you busy.
Yeah. Well, awesome, Jared. Thanks for coming on, buddy. It was an awesome interview. It was nice to get to talk to you about everything that you get to do in the world of dirt racing, and can't wait to meet you when you come up here with the Outlaws. That's going to be cool. Hopefully, maybe we can win you a couple bucks at the casino or something. But yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I love what you guys are doing on social media and with the podcast. I think it's great. So yeah, keep up the good work, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Jared.
Thank you.